The alarm rang through the bridge of the UHS Resilience. Captain Doyen looked up from his reports and listened carefully. It was not a danger alarm. It was something else. A distress signal from somewhere in the empty space ahead of them. "Captain, we are picking up a weak signal," said the young officer at the communications desk. "It looks like a ship in trouble. The signal is very old, maybe 3 or 4 days." Doyen stood up from his command chair. He was a tall man with dark hair and serious eyes. He had been a captain for 7 years now, and he knew what those old signals meant. Someone had called for help, but no one had come in time. "Show me the location," he said. The main screen lit up with a map of the area. A small red dot blinked about 2 hours away from their current position. The ship was drifting in neutral space, far from any planet or station. Lieutenant Jaiwan walked over to stand beside him. She was his first officer, a smart woman who always thought about the risks before making decisions. "It could be a trap," she said quietly. "Pirates sometimes use fake distress signals to lure ships." Doyen nodded. She was right to be careful. But something in his gut told him this was real. "Prepare a boarding team," he said. "I will lead it myself. If it is a trap, we will be ready." Jaiwan did not look happy, but she followed his orders. That was one of the things Doyen appreciated about her. She would tell him when she disagreed, but she always supported his final decision. 2 hours later, the Resilience came close to the dead ship. It was smaller than their warship, maybe a cargo vessel. The hull was damaged in several places, and there were no lights anywhere. It spun slowly in the darkness, like a piece of space garbage. Doyen put on a spacesuit and checked his weapon. 6 other crew members joined him, all armed and ready. They crossed from the Resilience to the dead ship, using a connecting tube. The airlock was broken, so they had to cut their way inside. The inside of the ship was dark and cold. Their helmet lights cut through the blackness as they moved forward. The gravity was off, so they floated through the corridors, pushing themselves along the walls. "This was a smuggler's ship," said one of the crew members, pointing a container stacked in a side room. "Look at those markings. No legal cargo uses those codes." Doyen felt his jaw tighten. Smugglers. That explained why the ship was out here in the middle of nowhere. They used these empty routes to avoid patrols and customs checks. Something must have gone wrong with their ship, and they had abandoned it. "Captain, you need to see this," called another crew member from deeper in the ship. Doyen pushed himself through a narrow hallway and into what looked like the main cargo bay. His light swept across the room, and he stopped moving. His heart felt heavy in his chest. There were cages, dozens of them. Most were empty now, their doors hanging open. But in the back corner, one cage remained sealed. And inside that cage was something alive. Doyen floated closer. His light fell on a creature he had only seen in pictures before. A dragon. It was about the size of a large horse, with scales that shimmered blue and silver even in the dim light. Its wings were folded tight against its body, and thick chains held it to the floor of the cage. The dragon's eyes opened when the light hit them. They were bright gold, and they looked at Doyen with an expression he recognized immediately. Fear, pain, and a tiny bit of hope. Around the cage, floating in the zero gravity, were the bodies of other dragons. Smaller ones. They had died here, abandoned when the smugglers fled. Doyen felt anger rise in his throat. What kind of people would leave living creatures to die like this? "Sir, we should report this and move on," said one of his crew members. "We are not equipped to handle exotic animals. We should call the proper authorities." The proper authorities. Doyen knew what that meant. Forms and reports. Weeks of waiting while the creature stayed in this cage. Maybe months. And there was no guarantee the authorities would treat it better than the smugglers had. "No," Doyen said. His voice was firm. "We are taking it with us." He could hear the concern in his crew's voices, but he ignored it. He moved close to the cage and looked directly at the dragon. Slowly, he removed his helmet. The air in the ship was cold and stale, but breathable. "Hello," he said softly. "I know you are scared. I would be scared too, but I am not going to hurt you. I am going to get you out of here." The dragon tilted its head, watching him. Doyen had read that dragons were intelligent, maybe even more intelligent than humans. Looking into those golden eyes, he believed it. This was not an animal. This was a person trapped in a different kind of body. He pulled a cutting tool from his belt and began working on the lock. The metal was cheap and broke easily. The cage door swung open. Doyen reached inside, moving slowly so he would not frighten the creature. The chains were harder to break. He had to cut through each link carefully. All the while, he kept talking in a low, calm voice. He told the dragon about his ship, about how they would find a safe place for it, about how no one would hurt it anymore. When the last chain fell away, the dragon did not move for a moment. Then very slowly it stretched its wings. They were beautiful, shimmering like moonlight on water. In the zero gravity, the dragon floated free for the first time in who knows how long. Doyen felt something strange then. It was like a warm feeling in his chest. But it did not come from him. It came from the dragon. Gratitude, relief, trust. He realized the dragon was communicating with him, not with words, but with emotions. "Come on," he said, gesturing toward the exit. "Let us get you somewhere better than this." The dragon followed him. It moved carefully in the zero gravity, learning how to push itself along just like the crew members did. When they reached the airlock connecting to the Resilience, Doyen went first to show it was safe. The dragon came after him without hesitation. Back on the Resilience, Lieutenant Jaiwin was waiting at the airlock. Her eyes went wide when she saw what Doyen was bringing aboard. "Captain, what is that?" "A passenger," Doyen said simply. "We will need to prepare a space for her. Somewhere safe and comfortable." "Her." Jaiwin looked confused. Doyen was not sure why he said that. It just felt right. The dragon's presence in his mind felt feminine somehow, gentle despite her size and sharp teeth. "Sir, we do not have facilities for exotic creatures," Jaiwin said. "We do not even know what it eats or if it is dangerous. This is a military vessel, not a zoo." Doyen looked at his first officer. He understood her concerns. They were all valid, but he also knew what was right. "She is not an exotic creature. Jaiwin, she is intelligent. I felt it, and she was left to die in that cage." He paused. "I will not do the same thing those smugglers did. I will not abandon her." Jaiwin looked at the dragon, who was watching their conversation with those intelligent golden eyes. She sighed. "Where do you want to put her?" "Cargo Bay 7. It is the largest open space we have. Make sure it is warm, and bring whatever soft materials we can spare. Blankets, cushions, anything." As the crew prepared the cargo bay, Doyen stayed with the dragon. He sat on the floor of the corridor, and she settled down beside him. She was still scared. He could feel it. But there was something else now, too. A small spark of hope growing stronger. "We will figure this out," he said to her. "I promise you. You are safe now." The dragon made a soft sound, almost like a purr. She rested her head near his hand. Doyen reached out slowly and touched her scales. They were warm and smooth, like polished stone. The dragon closed her eyes and sent him another wave of emotion. This time was clear and simple. Trust. She trusted him. And Doyen knew in that moment that his life had just changed forever. He had made a promise to this creature, and he would keep it no matter what. 3 days had passed since the dragon came aboard the Resilience. Captain Doyen stood outside Cargo Bay 7, looking through the small window in the door. Inside, the dragon lay curled on a pile of blankets and cushions the crew had gathered for her. She looked miserable. Her beautiful scales had lost some of their shine. She barely moved except to drink the water they brought her. The cargo bay was warm enough, but something was wrong. Doyen could feel it through their strange connection. She was not happy here. Medical Officer Hannah came to stand beside him. She was a short woman with kind eyes and quick hands. She had spent hours studying the dragon, taking careful measurements and observations without getting too close. "Her health is declining," Hannah said quietly. "She is eating the food we provide, but not much. Her body temperature keeps dropping even though we raise the heat in the bay. And look at her scales. They should be bright and reflective. Now they look dull." Doyen felt his chest tighten with worry. "What does she need?" Hannah pulled up a datapad and showed him her notes. "Based on what I have learned about dragons, they need very specific conditions. They need spaces with different temperature zones, so they can move between warm and cool areas. They need high humidity in the air. They need natural light or something similar to it. And most importantly, they need room to fly. This cargo bay does not have any of those things, Doyen said. No, it does not. Captain, I know you want to help her, but this ship is not designed for creatures like her. Maybe we should consider transferring her to a proper facility when we reach the next starbase. There are sanctuaries for rescued exotic species. Doyen looked back at the dragon. As if she sensed him watching, she lifted her head and looked directly at him through the window. Those golden eyes held so much sadness. She sent him a feeling of loneliness and fear. No, he said, she stays with us. There has to be another way. That evening, Doyen called a meeting with his senior officers. Lieutenant Jaiwin, Chief Engineer Miho, and Medical Officer Hannah all gathered in the conference room. The lights were low, and everyone looked tired. They had been working extra shifts to keep the ship running smoothly while dealing with their unexpected passenger. Thank you all for coming, Doyen began. I know this situation is unusual, but we need to find a solution for our guest. She is getting weaker in the cargo bay. Jaiwin spoke first. Captain, with respect, the logical solution is to transfer her to a sanctuary. We are a military vessel. We have missions to complete. We cannot become a transport for rescued animals. She is not an animal, Doyen said firmly. She is intelligent, possibly as intelligent as we are, and she is bonded with me, with us. Sending her away to strangers will be cruel after everything she's been through. Hannah nodded slowly. I have noticed the bond between you two. It is remarkable. But, Captain, even if we want to keep her, how can we? The cargo bay is killing her slowly. She needs conditions we cannot provide. Chief Engineer Miho had been quiet until now. He was a thin man with messy hair and oil stains on his uniform. He always looked like he had just crawled out of some engine room, which was usually true. Now, he leaned forward with a strange light in his eyes. Actually, Miho said, I might have an idea. Everyone turned to look at him. He pulled up a holographic display showing the ship's layout. We have 3 auxiliary hangar bays. We only use 2 of them regularly. Hangar Bay 2 is mostly storage right now. Old equipment, spare parts, things we keep just in case but rarely need. What are you suggesting? Doyen asked. Miho's fingers danced across the controls, and the image zoomed in on Hangar Bay 2. We could convert it. The space is huge, much bigger than the cargo bay. It has high ceilings, so she could practice flying. We could install environmental controls to create different temperature zones. We could add moisture systems for humidity. We could even install special lighting that mimics natural sunlight. Jaiwin shook her head. That would take weeks of work, maybe months, and the cost of materials and crew time would be enormous. Actually, I have been running calculations, Miho said. He looked excited now, the way he always did when presented with an engineering challenge. We have most of the equipment already. The environmental systems from the old life support backup could be repurposed. The lighting could be modified from our hydroponic supplies. The biggest job will be clearing out the current storage and reorganizing elsewhere. If we dedicate a team to it, we could have a basic habitat ready in 3 weeks. Doyen felt hope rising in his chest. 3 weeks. Maybe less if people volunteer their off-duty time, Miho added. This is insane, Jaiwin said, but her voice was softer now, less certain. We are going to convert a military hangar bay into a habitat for a dragon. Yes, Doyen said simply. That is exactly what we're going to do. He looked at each of them. I know this is not standard procedure. I know it will be difficult, but I am asking you to trust me. She needs this, and I think we need this too. Hannah smiled. I think it is a wonderful idea. I will help however I can. Miho was already making notes on his data pad. I will start drawing up detailed plans tonight. Everyone looked at Jaiwin. She sat quietly for a long moment, her face unreadable. Finally, she sighed. Fine, but I want regular progress reports. And if this starts affecting our mission readiness, we will need to reconsider. Doyen smiled. Fair enough. Thank you, all of you. The next morning, Doyen went to Cargo Bay 7 early. He carried a tablet showing the plans Miho had worked on all night. The dragon was awake, watching the door as if she had been waiting for him. He sat down on the floor beside her pile of blankets. "Hello, friend," he said softly. "I have something to show you." He held up the tablet so she could see the images, plans for the converted hangar bay, drawings showing plants and water features, diagrams of the lighting and temperature systems. He was not sure she could understand pictures, but he explained everything anyway. "We are going to build you a real home," he said. "Not this coal metal room. A place where you can fly and be comfortable, where you can be yourself." The dragon moved closer to him. She looked at the tablet, and Doyen felt a surge of emotion from her. Surprise, gratitude, and something that felt like disbelief, as if she could not believe someone would do this for her. "I promise you," Doyen said, reaching out to touch her scales. "You are part of this crew now, and we take care of our own." The dragon made that purring sound again. She pressed her head gently against his hand. For the first time since coming aboard, her scales seemed to brighten just a little. Word spread quickly through the ship. The crew had mixed reactions. Some thought the captain had lost his mind. Others were curious about the dragon. But when Mio put out a call for volunteers to help with construction, he was surprised by the response. Junior officers signed up for extra shifts. Engineers offered their expertise. Even some of the younger crew members who had never seen a dragon before wanted to help. There was something about the project that captured people's imagination. Building a sanctuary inside a warship, creating something gentle in a vessel designed for battle. Jaiwan watched the volunteer list grow and shook her head in amazement. She found Doyen in his office late one night, reviewing construction schedule. "You have inspired them," she said, sitting down across from him. "The whole crew is talking about nothing else. Half of them have never even met the dragon, but they want to help build her home." Doyen smiled tiredly. "People want to be part of something good, especially out here, so far from home. This gives them purpose beyond just patrolling empty space." "Maybe you are right," Jaiwan admitted. "I was wrong to suggest we send her away. I see that now. She belongs here, with us." Doyen felt grateful for her support. "Thank you, Jaiwan. That means a lot." He looked back at his schedule. "Miho thinks we can start the actual construction tomorrow. We just need to finish moving the storage equipment." He paused. "I think I will call her Skyra. The dragon. It feels right." Jaiwan nodded. "Skyra, I like it. It suits her." She stood to leave, then turned back. "Captain, what you are doing here, building this place for her, I think it might be the best thing this crew has done in a long time." The work began the next morning. Chief Engineer Miho stood in the middle of Hangar Bay 2 with his team, looking at the massive space that would become Skyra's new home. The bay was full of old equipment, storage containers, and spare parts that had collected over the years. "First, we clear everything out," Miho said to his crew. "Move it all to the lower storage decks. Then we can start building." The crew worked hard. They moved containers and equipment day and night. People volunteered their free time to help. Even crew members who were not engineers came to carry boxes and sweep floors. Everyone wanted to be part of creating something special. Captain Doyen visited the hangar every day. He brought Skyra with him sometimes, carrying updates on his tablet to show her the progress. The dragon watched the work with bright, curious eyes. Doyen could feel her excitement growing through their bond. After 5 days, the hangar was empty. Miho stood in the center of a huge space and smiled. "Now the real work begins," he said. The engineers installed heating elements on the ceiling. These special panels could create warm zones that felt like sunlight. They placed them at different heights, so Skyra could choose how warm she wanted to be. In one corner, they left the area cooler for when she needed to rest. Next came the moisture systems. Tiny nozzles were hidden along the walls that could spray a fine mist into the air. Medical Officer Hannah had researched the exact humidity levels dragons needed. The system could adjust automatically to keep the air perfect. The lighting was Miho's favorite part. He had modified lights from the hydroponics bay to create a cycle that mimicked natural day and night. During the day, the lights would be bright and slightly blue, like morning sky. In the evening, they would shift to warmer tones like sunset. At night, they would dim to a soft glow like starlight. But the crew did not stop with just the technical systems. They wanted to make the space beautiful too. The hydroponics team brought fast-growing plants. They created a small garden in one section of the hangar. Green vines climbed up specially installed frames. Small flowering plants added spots of color. The plants would also help clean the air and make the space feel more alive. A young crew member named Tejo had a hidden talent. He was an artist. When he heard about the project, he volunteered to paint a mural on one of the large walls. He spent his nights working on it, and slowly, a beautiful scene emerged. Mountains rose up toward a blue sky. Birds flew in the distance. It looked like a window to another world. It is based on a place back on Earth. Tejo explained to Doyen, "I thought Skyra might like to see what natural landscapes look like, even if they're just painted." Doyen was touched. "It is perfect. Thank you." Another crew member, Yunji, worked in machine shop. She used recycled materials to create a shallow pool. It was not very deep, just enough for Skyra to wade in and cool off. The water would be filtered and kept clean automatically. Lieutenant Jaiwin supervised the safety systems. She made sure there were proper air filters, emergency exits, and fire suppression equipment. Just because they were building a sanctuary did not mean they could forget about safety protocols. Every day, Doyen brought Skyra to see the progress. He would describe what was being added and why. Skyra watched everything with intense interest. Sometimes she would make soft sounds or send feelings to Doyen. He began to understand what she liked and what she did not. When the workers installed the pool, Skyra sent a feeling of joy so strong that Doyen laughed out loud. When they positioned the heating panels, she showed him through emotions which areas felt best. She even had opinions about the plants, preferring some colors over others. "She is helping us design her own home," Miho said with wonder. "I have never worked with a client who could tell me exactly what they wanted just by feeling." The crew noticed changes in themselves too. Working on the sanctuary gave them something to talk about besides their usual duties. People from different departments worked together and became friends. The ship felt less like a military vessel and more like community. One evening, Doyen found several crew members sitting in the partially finished sanctuary during their off-duty hours. They were not working. They were just sitting quietly among the plants, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. "Captain," one of them said, standing up quickly, "Sorry, we did not mean to be in the way." "You are not in the way," Doyen said with a smile. "This space is becoming something special for all of us, is it not?" The crew member nodded. "It is nice to have a place that feels alive. Sometimes being in space for so long, everything feels cold and mechanical. But here, with the plants and the soft light, it feels different. It feels like home." After 19 days of hard work, the sanctuary was ready. Miho called Doyen to come see the finished space. The captain walked into Hangar Bay 2 and stopped in amazement. The transformation was incredible. The cold, empty hangar had become a living sanctuary. The lights cast a warm, natural glow. Plants grew along the walls and in carefully placed containers. The mural made it seem like the space extended far beyond its actual walls. The pool reflected the light beautifully, and the air was warm and humid, comfortable and welcoming. "Miho, this is beyond what I imagined," Doyen said quietly. "You and the crew have created something wonderful." The engineer looked proud but tired. It was a team effort. Everyone contributed something. "Should we bring Skyra to see it?" "Yes," Doyen said, "but let me gather the crew first. They all deserve to be here when she sees it for the first time." An hour later, most of the off-duty crew had gathered in the corridor outside the sanctuary. Word had spread quickly that Skyra was about to see her new home. People who had worked on the project wanted to see her reaction. Even people who had just heard about it were curious. Doyen went to Cargo Bay 7 to get Skyra. The Dragon was waiting for him, as always. Over the past weeks, she had grown stronger. The crew had been bringing her better food, and Medical Officer Hannah had been giving her supplements. But she still looked sad in the cold cargo bay. "Come with me," Doyen said gently. I have something to show you. Skyra followed him through the corridors. The crew members they passed stopped to watch. Some smiled. Others looked nervous. A dragon walking through the ship was still an unusual sight. When they reached the sanctuary entrance, the gathered crowd stepped back to make room. Doyen looked at Skyra. This is for you, he said. Your new home. He opened the door. Warm, humid air flowed out into the corridor. The scent of plants and fresh water came with it. Skyra stepped forward slowly, cautiously. Then she saw inside, and everything changed. The dragon's eyes went wide. She walked into the sanctuary, her head turning to see everything. The lights, the plants, the painted mountains, the pool. She made a sound, a deep rumble that was almost like purring, but louder, more joyful. Then Skyra did something she had not done since being rescued. She spread her wings. Fully, completely, they stretched out wide, shimmering blue and silver in the warm light. She crouched down and then leaped into the air. Skyra flew. Not far. The hangar was not that large. But she flew in wide circles around the space, her wings catching the air, her body moving with grace and power. Around and around she went, testing the space, feeling the freedom of flight again. The crew watched in silence. Many of them had never seen her fly before. They had only known her as the sad creature in the cargo bay. Now they saw what she truly was. Magnificent, beautiful, free. Doyen felt tears in his eyes. Through their bond, he felt what Skyra was feeling. Pure, overwhelming joy. Gratitude so deep it made his chest ache. And something else. Love. She loved them for this. For giving her back a piece of what she had lost. Skyra landed near the pool. Her scales seemed to glow brighter than they ever had before. She turned to look at all the people watching from the doorway. Then she did something unexpected. She bowed her head low, a gesture of respect and thanks. The crew erupted in cheers and applause. People were crying and laughing at the same time. They had done this. Together, they had created something beautiful. They had given a traumatized creature a home. And in doing so, they had given themselves something precious too. Lieutenant Jywin stood beside Doyen, wiping her eyes. I was wrong, she said softly. This was exactly what we needed. Doyen nodded, unable to speak. Skyra walked over to him and gently pressed her head against his chest. He wrapped his arms around her neck, feeling her warmth, her happiness. In that moment, he knew that everything had changed. The Resilience was still a warship, but now it was also a home, a place where kindness mattered as much as strength, where a dragon could fly free in the heart of a vessel built for war. 6 weeks passed peacefully. Skyra thrived in her new home. Her scales shone brightly now, and she had gained weight. She spent her days flying in lazy circles, playing in the pool, and resting among the plants. The crew loved visiting her sanctuary during their breaks. It had become the most popular place on the ship. Then everything changed. The Resilience docked at Starbase Meridian for resupply. It was a massive station where ships from many different species came to trade and refuel. Captain Doyen had not worried about keeping Skyra's secret. The crew talked about her openly, proud of what they had built for her. That was his mistake. Word traveled fast in space stations. Within 2 days of their arrival, Doyen received a formal summons to meet with station officials. There was a complaint filed against him. Someone wanted Skyra back. Doyen sat in the station's administrative office, feeling cold despite the warm air. Across from him sat Ambassador Vexel, a tall alien with smooth gray skin and 4 eyes. The Korthan diplomat wore expensive robes and carried himself with arrogance. Captain Doyen, Vexel said in a smooth voice, you are harboring stolen property aboard your vessel. The dragon you call Skyra was legally purchased cargo belonging to registered traders under Korthan law. When their ship experienced difficulties, the cargo became salvage. As the Korthan sovereignty's representative, I am here to reclaim her. Doyen felt anger rising in his chest. Skyra is not property. She is a living, intelligent being. The smugglers left her to die. I saved her life. That is irrelevant, Vexel said, waving one hand dismissively. Dragons are classified under Korthan law as non-sentient creatures. exotic animals. They can be owned, bought, and sold. Your personal feelings do not change the law. Your law is wrong, Doyen said firmly. Skyra thinks. She feels. She communicates. She has preferences and emotions. That makes her sentient. The station administrator, a tired-looking human woman, named Commissioner Park, rubbed her temples. Gentlemen, please, this matter requires formal proceedings. Captain Doyen, Ambassador Vexel has filed a legal claim. We must convene a tribunal to hear both sides. Fine, Doyen said. When? 3 days from now. You will need to present evidence supporting your claim that the dragon is sentient. Ambassador Vexel will present his legal documentation. The tribunal judges will make a decision. Doyen returned to Resilience and immediately called his senior officers. Lieutenant Jaiwin, Medical Officer Hannah, and Chief Engineer Miho gathered in his office. He told them about the tribunal. They want to take her, he said quietly. They want to take Skyra and classify her as property. Jaiwin's face was hard with determination. Then we fight. I will serve as your advocate at the tribunal. I have legal training. We can win this. What evidence do we need? Doyen asked. Hannah pulled up her medical files. I have documented everything. Her brain scans show neural complexity similar to human levels. Her responses to stimuli demonstrate problem-solving ability. Her interaction with the crew shows social intelligence. I can testify to all of this. And I can talk about how she helped design her own habitat. Miho added. She expressed preferences. She made choices. That is not animal behavior. That is sentient decision-making. Over the next 3 days, they prepared their case carefully. Jaiwin interviewed crew members who had interacted with Skyra. She collected stories of the dragon's intelligence and personality. Hannah compiled all her scientific data into clear, simple presentations. Even young Tejo, the artist, created drawings showing Skyra's different emotional expressions. The day of the tribunal arrived. The hearing room on the station was large and cold. 3 judges sat at a high desk, a human, a Kralian, and an Astri. Each represented different species, involved in station governance. Ambassador Vexel sat on one side with his legal team. Doyen and his crew sat on the other. Vexel presented his case first. He showed documents proving the dragon had been purchased legally under Korthan law. He presented the official classification listing dragons as non-sentient exotic creatures. He argued that salvage law gave the Korthan sovereignty rights to reclaim lost cargo. The law is clear, Vexel concluded. Personal attachment does not override legal ownership. The captain may have grown fond of creature, but it remains property under established regulations. Then it was Jaiwin's turn. She stood confidently and presented their evidence. She showed Hannah's brain scans on the large screen. She played recordings of Skyra interacting with crew members, demonstrating clear understanding in response to spoken language. She presented testimony from multiple crew members about Skyra's personality and intelligence. This is not a simple animal, Jaiwin argued. This is a sentient being capable of complex thought, emotion, and communication. The Korthan classification is based on outdated research that predates modern understanding of dragon cognition. More importantly, sentient beings cannot be property. That principle is fundamental to civilized law. The judges asked questions. They examined the evidence carefully. But Doyen could see uncertainty in their faces. The law was complicated. Treaties between species made things more difficult. The judges seemed sympathetic, but constrained. Then Doyen stood up. May I request something unconventional? The lead judge, the human, looked at him curiously. What is your request, Captain? Bring Skyra here. Let the tribunal meet her directly. Do not just look at data and documents. See her, interact with her, then decide if she is property or a person. Vexel objected immediately. This is highly irregular. The creature's presence is irrelevant to the legal facts. But the judges conferred quietly. Finally, the lead judge nodded. Request granted. This tribunal will meet with the dragon in question. We will reconvene in 1 hour. Doyen went back to the ship and found Skyra in her sanctuary. She was resting near the pool, but she lifted her head when he entered. Through their bond, she felt his worry immediately. She sent him a questioning feeling. "I need your help," he said softly. "There are people who want to take you away from us. From me. I need you to show them who you really are. Can you do that?" Skyra stood up. She walked over to him and pressed her head against his chest. He felt her response clearly. Trust. She trusted him. She would do whatever he needed. They returned to the tribunal together. The room had been rearranged to accommodate Skyra's size. The judges came down from their high desk to stand at ground level. Ambassador Vexel stood to one side, his face showing displeasure. Skyra entered the room calmly, staying close to Doyen. The judges watched her carefully. She was magnificent, her scales shimmering under the lights, her movements graceful and deliberate. "Remarkable," the Astery judge whispered. Then Vexel made his move. He stepped forward quickly, his voice sharp and commanding. "Dragon, I am Ambassador Vexel of the Korthan Sovereignty. You were purchased legally under our laws. I am here to reclaim you. Come with me now." Skyra's reaction was immediate and unmistakable. She pulled back, her wings spreading defensively. Her eyes went wide with fear. A low growl rumbled from her throat. She moved behind Doyen, using him as a shield between herself and Vexel. The fear she broadcast was so strong that even the judges, who did not share Doyen's bond with her, could see it clearly. This was not an animal reacting on instinct. This was a sentient being recognizing a threat and choosing who to trust for protection. Doyen turned and placed a gentle hand on Skyra's neck. "It is all right," he said softly. "I am here. No one will hurt you." Skyra calmed slowly under his touch, but she kept her eyes on Vexel, still radiating wariness. The lead judge looked at his colleagues. They nodded to each other, a silent agreement passing between them. The judge turned to address the room. "We have seen enough. The tribunal will reconvene tomorrow to deliver our verdict. This session is adjourned." That night, Doyen could not sleep. He sat in Skyra's sanctuary, his back against the wall, while she rested nearby. The waiting was terrible. Everything they had built together, everything they had become to each other, hung in the balance. Skyra sensed his worry. She moved closer and laid her head in his lap. He stroked her scales gently, feeling the warmth of her trust. Whatever happened tomorrow, he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He would never let anyone treat her as property. She was his friend, his responsibility, his family, and he would fight for her with everything he had. The next morning, the tribunal room was packed with people. News of the case had spread throughout the station. Everyone wanted to know if a dragon would be declared sentient or remain classified as property. Captain Doyen sat with his crew, his hands clasped tightly together. Skyra was back on the ship, safe in her sanctuary. He had not wanted to bring her to hear the verdict. Whatever happened, he would tell her gently. The three judges entered and took their seats. The lead judge, the human woman, looked serious but not unkind. She picked up a data tablet and began to read. "This tribunal has carefully considered all evidence presented. We have reviewed the Korthan legal classifications, the scientific data provided by Medical Officer Hannah, testimonies from the crew of the UHS Resilience, and most importantly, we have observed the dragon in question directly." She paused and looked directly at Doyen. "The behavior we witnessed yesterday was conclusive. The dragon demonstrated clear emotional intelligence, the ability to distinguish between individuals, and conscious choice in selecting her protector. These are not characteristics of non-sentient property." Doyen felt his heart begin to race. "Therefore, this tribunal rules that the dragon known as Skyra is a sentient being with full rights under interspecies law. She cannot be classified as property. She cannot be owned, bought, or sold. The Korthan claim is denied." The room erupted in noise. Some people cheered. Others argued. Ambassador Vexel stood up, his face dark with anger, but the judge held up her hand for silence. Furthermore, she continued, "As a sentient being, Skyra has a right to choose her own residence and companions. Based on the evidence, she has clearly chosen to remain with Captain Doyen and the crew of the Resilience. This tribunal grants her legal citizenship status under human protection, with Captain Doyen serving as her official guardian until such time as she can navigate legal systems independently. Doyen felt Lieutenant Jaiwin grab his arm, squeezing tightly. Medical Officer Hannah was crying. Chief Engineer Miho was grinning broadly. They had won. Skyra was free. She was safe. This decision sets precedent, the judge added. We recommend that the Korthan sovereignty review its classifications of dragons and other potentially sentient species. This tribunal is adjourned. Doyen ran back to the ship. He did not care about protocol or dignity. He needed to tell Skyra. When he reached her sanctuary, she was waiting by the door, pacing nervously. She had felt his emotions through their bond, the fear and worry, but not the reason. We won, he said, his voice breaking. You are free, Skyra. Officially, legally free. You are recognized as sentient. No one can ever claim to own you again. Skyra made a sound between a roar and a cry. She wrapped her neck around him, and he felt the wave of emotion from her. Relief, joy, gratitude, love. They stood like that for a long time, dragon and human, bound together by something stronger than law. The months that followed were the best of Doyen's career. The Resilience returned to its patrol duties, but everything felt different now. Skyra had become a true member of the crew. Her sanctuary remained her home, but she ventured out more often, exploring other parts of the ship with Doyen or other crew members she trusted. She learned to communicate more clearly. Medical Officer Hannah worked with her to develop a simple sign language system. Skyra could express basic concepts by touching different color panels Hannah had created. Yes, no, hungry, happy, worried. It was basic, but it opened new doors. The crew discovered that Skyra had abilities they had not known about. She could sense things they could not. Energy fluctuations, gravitational anomalies. She experienced space differently than humans did. This discovery proved vital 4 months after the tribunal. The Resilience was escorting a civilian convoy through a dangerous sector. Pirates sometimes attacked ships here, stealing cargo and taking hostages. The convoy included merchant vessels, supply ships, and even a passenger liner with families aboard. Everything seemed normal. Scanners showed nothing unusual, but Skyra became agitated. She paced in her sanctuary, sending urgent feelings to Doyen. Danger. Hidden. Close. Doyen was on the bridge when he felt her warning. Lieutenant Jaiwin, bring us a full alert. He ordered immediately. Sir? Scanners show nothing, Jaiwin said, confused. Skyra senses something. Trust me. Full alert. Shields up. Weapons ready. The crew responded instantly. They had learned to trust their captain's bond with the dragon. 30 seconds later, their scanners finally detected what Skyra had already sensed. A cloaked ship was positioning itself to attack the convoy. Pirates, the sensor officer shouted. They're decloaking now, weapons hot. But the Resilience was ready. Because of Skyra's warning, they had precious seconds of advantage. Doyen gave quick, precise orders. They positioned themselves between the pirate ship and the convoy. When the pirates fired, the Resilience's shields were already at maximum strength. The battle was short. The pirates had expected to catch everyone by surprise. Instead, they faced a fully prepared warship. After a brief exchange of fire, the pirate vessel retreated, damaged and defeated. The convoy was safe. Not a single civilian ship was damaged. No one was hurt. All because Skyra had sensed a danger before human technology could detect it. After the battle, Doyen went straight to the sanctuary. Skyra was waiting, still anxious. When she saw him, she rushed over. He could feel her question. Everyone safe? Yes, he said, wrapping his arms around her neck. Everyone is safe. Because of you. You saved them all. Skyra, you saved us. That evening, the entire crew gathered in the sanctuary. It had become their tradition to hold important meetings there when possible. The space that had been built for one dragon had become the heart of their ship. Today, Skyra proved what we all knew. Doyen told his crew. She is not just a passenger we are protecting. She is one of us, a member of this crew, who contributes and protects us in return. The crew cheered. Skyra looked around at all the faces, feeling their acceptance and affection. She sent out a wave of emotion so strong that everyone in the room could sense it, even those without Doyen's special bond. Belonging, family, home. Later that night, after everyone had left, Doyen sat alone with Skyra in the sanctuary. The lights had shifted to their evening mode, soft and warm. The plants rustled gently in the artificial breeze. Water trickled in the pool. "Do you remember when I first found you?" Doyen asked quietly. "You were so scared, so hurt. I promised you then that I would keep you safe." Skyra made a soft sound. Through their bond, she sent him memories. The dark cargo bay where she had been chained. The fear, the loneliness. Then the moment he had appeared, speaking gently, cutting her free. The first time she had felt hope. "But you did more than survive," Doyen continued. "You became part of something. You changed us, Skyra. This whole ship. We built you a sanctuary, and somehow you made the entire ship feel like a sanctuary for all of us." He looked around the beautiful space they had created together. "I thought we were building this for you, but I think we were building it for ourselves too. A reminder that even in a warship, even in the darkness of space, we can create something gentle, something full of life." Skyra moved closer and rested her head on his shoulder. She sent him an image, the sanctuary, glowing with light and life. Then the image expanded to show the whole ship. Then it expanded further to show the stars beyond. In the image, all of it was home. All of it was safe. All of it was theirs. Doyen smiled, understanding. She was not just grateful for the sanctuary. She was grateful for everything. The ship, the crew, the journey through space. She had lost her original home, but she had found a new one. Not a place, but a family. "You are right," he said softly. "This is home. All of it. Because we are together." Outside the sanctuary, the Resilience continued its patrol to the frontier zones. A warship carrying out its duties. But inside, in a converted hangar bay filled with plants and light, a dragon slept peacefully beside her human friend. And throughout the ship, a crew rested knowing they had created something rare and precious. They had built a home among the stars. A place where strength and gentleness existed side by side. Where a captain's compassion had changed everything. Where a dragon could fly free in the heart of a vessel built for war.